Let us say hello to the head man over there, the man who was in Dan Hooker's corner last Saturday in Melbourne, who was in Israel Adesanya's corner, the man who was undefeated this year in UFC fights, a true candidate for Coach of the Year, Eugene Bareman, joining us right now from New Zealand. Eugene, how are you, my friend? Thank you very much for joining us.
No, yeah, thank you for the big introduction. I think this is I think this is the first time I've been on the show, I believe.
Yes, it is the first time, but I've tried to get you on before. You just don't like to do media, right? You like to be in the shadows.
Um, yeah, I prefer to be in the shadows, but I also know that this plays an important role in my guys' success and my gym success. So I do have to get used to doing a bit more media. So here I am.
Are you kind of down from the high of 2 weekends ago? That was magical stuff. I mean, these types of things don't typically happen when you have guys. You go in as a squad. You're undefeated in front of 60,000 almost people. All of you win the championship. I mean, like, this is the stuff dreams are made of. Do you still feel like you're high from that, or have you come back down to earth?
Well, one thing I didn't expect was I wasn't able to truly kind of appreciate what we did until after a couple of days when everything had kind of settled down and I had a moment to myself. Then I got those, those big emotions and those really good highs that you're talking about. So it actually took a couple of days. Probably now I'm still, yeah, you could say that I'm still buzzing about it. But maybe that's because it hit me so late.
You've been involved in combat sports, martial arts for a very long time. Would it be fair to say that that was the greatest night or day of your career, fighter or coach?
That's a very apt description of that night. Yeah, definitely.
Wow, that's amazing. And now, do you feel like life has changed? I mean, life has changed for Israel. I see him on Instagram. He's driving fancy cars now, and life has continuously changed, like gradually changed since he came to the UFC. But for you and your gym, do you feel like life has changed? Do you feel like people view you differently? Getting that recognition over here in North America as well. Like, do you just feel like everything around you has changed?
I feel like within the gym, and I feel myself, I haven't changed. Did he bought a new car or something? I believe I've been hearing about that. But I drive a 1988 Honda Civic
Oh,
because I
nice.
like that car and it just gets me from A to B. So for me, nothing's changed. I'm not gonna be an extravagant spender like him, and um, for me, life hasn't changed. I just keep on doing what I'm doing. For him, yeah, I think his life's changing a bit more than mine, I think.
We have seen this story in combat sports a lot. You know, the meteoric rise, the championship, the riches that come with it. Are you worried that life will change too much for young Israel? Do you think like you've been around sports, you know exactly of the examples that I'm talking about. How will you keep him from not falling down, you know, those traps and going down the wrong paths?
Yeah, I am worried about that because this is uncharted territory. Neither him nor I have been in this place, and there's a lot of new things that are coming into our environment, and they're new to us, so we don't have a blueprint to work off. We just have to take it as it comes. Like I'm not an advocate of that kind of lifestyle and that flashy type of spending. I believe he should be rewarded for his hard work, but like you know, he has to. There's people in my gym that deserve more than him to be in the UFC and be in the position that he's in, and he'll admit that. These are people that, on some weeks, they have to come and borrow $200 off me just to survive, or $100 off me to survive. These are his training partners.
Wow.
So, and flashing my wealth and what I've done because the people that help get me there every day, that struggle with me every day and are still struggling, I feel like we don't need to push that on them. because they deserve everything just as much as we should. And it's just not. It's not my style. It's not the way I'll do it.
Have you talked to him about this, about not falling down, and those traps and the wrong people and things like that? Now that he's become arguably the face of the UFC and this megastar, have you guys had that conversation?
I feel at this stage I don't have to. I feel he's a very grounded person.
Mm-hmm.
I feel there's no need for me. I feel he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine dealing with some of the trappings of success. But of course, it's my job to keep a close eye on what's happening with him and what's happening with him outside of the cage as well. I have to keep a close eye on, because that directly affects what happens in the cage. So I just keep a watchful eye over what's happening, and if I need to say something, then I will say something. But we have a good team. If he needs to be brought back into line, then quite often I'm actually not the person to do that. Quite often the other leaders in the team do it, the other fighters.
Or maybe even his parents, right?
Well, definitely his parents. But his parents aren't in the environment that
Right.
we're in, so they don't get to see him every day, and they don't get to see Israel at his most vulnerable like we do sometimes.
If I would have talked to you around this time last year, like I remember having Israel on my year-end show where we gave him the award of Breakthrough Fighter of the Year, and he was like, "Yeah, that's cool. Next year, I'm going for Fighter of the Year." But who would have thought you guys would enjoy this kind of year? And by the way, it's not over. Of course, you know that. You don't need me to tell you that. Massive fight on December 14th, Alex Volkanovski against Max Holloway. But would you have envisioned this? Like, is this, you've been, not to say that you're an overnight success story, because you've been competing for a while and coaching for a while, and the gym wasn't just built yesterday, but to have the kind of year that you guys have had as a team, 10-0, and the kind of weekend that you just had, like if we would have talked January and we were looking ahead at the year to come, would you have predicted this kind of year? By the end of 2019, you could have two legitimate UFC champions out of this small gym in Auckland. Would you have predicted this?
No, the time frame that you're explaining, no. I always believed we could do it, but I just didn't think that we'd be able to do it so fast, that our guys would make inroads this quickly. So, yeah, if you had asked me in January, I would have been clueless to what's happening now. I didn't think we would be able to make this much inroads and be this fast and have this amount of success. So, no, this is a surprise to me.
When did you open City Kickboxing?
2000 and it's been around for 11 years.
11 years. And who
Been
was
open for 11 years.
who was the first
What's
fighter
that?
to make it to the UFC from that gym?
So uh, Dan Hooker was actually part of another gym,
Right.
and then he came over and started training with me. So if you like him, but then actually the first fighter that we bred through our system was Israel.
Wow, that is amazing. And my understanding is the first time you met Israel, it wasn't exactly the best experience. I understand that someone asked you to train him on very short notice for an amateur fight. He lost that fight. He did not look very good. And you kind of said to yourself, I never want to go through this again where I just take someone on short notice and corner him. And then he ended up showing up to the gym. But you even almost encouraged him to go train elsewhere. Is that all accurate?
No, that's completely accurate. Like, I think most coaches will agree with me. You don't really want to have too much to do when it comes to coaching or cornering someone that you've never had anything to do with. So, what I can tell you about that night is the same confidence he shows now as he showed on that night, and that was with 2 weeks of watching YouTube videos. Was basically all that amounted to the whole amount, all the MMA training that he'd done. He still oozed that confidence and was like, I'm going in there and I'm going to win. Like, that is something that's always existed within him.
And when you told him to go elsewhere, did you think, like, was that a test almost? Did you think that he would come back? Or were you just trying to see why would you? Because typically when you see a talent, you're not telling them to go somewhere else. Why did you do that?
No, you're on the right track. It was a bit of a test. Like
Okay.
that I'm very confident in what my gym can do, and um, it, if a fighter goes away and then has the ability to recognize that you're doing something that will work with them, then that's someone that deserves our attention. So it was a little bit of a test, and a little bit of I will admit this. There's a little bit of apprehension on my part because he just seemed like a guy who was a little bit cocky and um, who wasn't that good.
Wow. And what year was this?
It's a good question for him, Ariel. Sorry, I'm hopeless with my dates.
Okay, no problem. But obviously he's turned out to be great, and he is. I mean, I think he would admit he is cocky, but he backs it all up. He's a showman. When he tells you before a fight, like the Robert Whittaker fight in front of all those people, that he's going to come out and dance the way he did. Do you have any reservations about that? Because that even that adds pressure. If you dance and then you get knocked out or lose, you're a laughing stock. How did you feel when you found out about that?
No, I just found out when I was involved in the whole thing.
Oh,
I
really?
don't. He knows that I'm not interested in that. Yeah, I'm not. He knows I have no interest in all of that stuff, so he doesn't share it with me. Like I have my job, and for the most part, he knows what it is, and I stick to that. So yeah, I just found out. Yeah, it was a bit of a mess that night. Like they told us to wait by the cage side,
Uh huh.
and now that our gear would come to us, and then my our wrestling coach leaned over to me and was like, Israel really wanted us to be part of the walkout. Then I looked at him and said, well, why have you left it to the last minute to tell me? So we all, at the last second, we all sprinted back up the tunnel, and we arrived where Israel was just in time for him to be announced and then walk out. So
Wow.
it all worked out in the end.
I saw on the City Kickboxing social media, you went to Tahiti and you brought the belt with you, and I understand that this was a very emotional trip for you. Can you explain this photo that we're seeing here? You brought the belt. I think you lost a friend and you were honoring him. What do these photos signify?
Yeah, so uh, this is in 2014. I took one of Israel's friends, close friends, one of my students to Tahiti for a boxing fight, and unfortunately, he passed away in my arms in the ring that night. And where that bout is where the ring was. So after that fight, um, after that tragedy, um, I would, I didn't really want anything to do with the sport. To be honest, I thought if this is the sort of tragedy that a sport like this can, bring someone and bring a family and bring loved ones, then what's the point in it? Then there's no point. Like this, it trumps everything. It's not worth the risk. So I didn't want to have anything to do with the sport. I just wanted to just fade away and just take my life in a different direction. So um, after, I was a great teacher of mine. Many months later, said to me that he explained it to me like this. He said, "All your students are still going to fight. Israel's still going to fight. Dan's going to fight. Everybody's still going to continue their career." And then he looked at me and he said, "Is there anybody on this planet that you trust to look after their lives more than yourself?" And I'd never thought of it like that. And I thought about that question, and that question just resonated with me, and it kept going over in my head. And at the end of the day, the answer was no. There was no one else on this planet Earth that I would trust more than myself to look after those guys and make sure they get in that cage and then back out safely. There wasn't a single person. And so I knew I had to continue this journey. And so I made up my mind that I would continue. And I believe in some sort of way that my boy Woolman's, his name, that passed away, was influential in me making that decision to stick with the sport. And so this was a little bit of a paying homage to him and bringing the bout back to the place where we lost him. Because I believe if it wasn't for him, then none of this would have happened, because I would have left the sport.
Wow.
So that's what that was about.
What was his full name?
Yeah. Woolman Rodriguez.
Okay. And
Great fighter, great kid.
he passed away because of injuries sustained in the fight?
Yeah, there was some stuff that wasn't picked up, because as you know, like
Yeah.
the UFC has the CAT scans and stuff, but a lot of the other promotions and the other sports, they don't have this. They don't have this facility. So there was some pre-existing conditions that got exacerbated by the fight, and then unfortunately he passed away.
Wow. I'm sorry about that, but I mean, obviously I didn't know when I saw those photos, but now they are beautiful, and it's amazing that you did that. I have to ask about Jon Jones because we were just talking about that fight earlier. True or false? That fight will happen. Jon Jones versus Israel Adesanya at some point. Are you in favor of this?
No.
You're not in
I've
favor
gone
of
on
it.
record already, Ariel, and I know that you're up. I know you're up with the media, but if you would like me to explain it again, I'm more than happy to explain it again.
If you don't mind.
Well, I believe we're, me and Israel in a certain place where we don't have to give a person of Jon's nature the opportunity that Israel can bestow on him. That's why I suggested we fight if this, and again, it was, this isn't set in stone or anything, but if we were going to do a super fight, I would much rather do it against Stipe, a good dude, a nice guy, a stand-up guy. Let's do it against him. Let's not give someone like Jon Jones this opportunity. That's just how my team operates.
Wow. Okay. I respect that. Could I ask? I'm hearing that maybe Israel might return in January, February. Is that against Costa? Is there anything to that?
To be honest, I have to talk to him about it.
Okay.
I think he wants that fight. I think he has something that he wants to prove with that particular opponent. So I think that looks like the likely scenario. I'm just not sure when.
Okay.
February? Did you say January or February?
Yeah. Or is that too soon?
Yeah, mate. Wow. I mean, it's up to him. That's the reason that's a hard time to fight, is because it's just around that Christmas, New Year's period.
Sure.
So basically, if you're fighting in January, February, you've got to give that up. So I don't know if he's willing to give that up. But this comes back to what we were talking about before, Ariel. Like a lot's changing now, so we need to have that conversation.
Well, I have to say this has been a fascinating conversation, and it was worth the wait. I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Corporate Jake once again rearing his ugly head, but I really appreciate you doing this, especially so early over there in Auckland, and hopefully we can talk very soon. I want to wish you a big congratulations on the past year that you've had, and also good luck on December 14th as Alex fights Max Holloway as well in Las Vegas. Thank you so much for doing this, Eugene. And again, congrats on this past Saturday, or 2 Saturdays ago, I should say. And of course, 2019. It's been amazing to see what you guys have done in this past year.
Thank you, Ariel. I'll see you in Vegas when Alex wrestles that bout off Max, and we bring it back to Oceania, Australasia. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. It's Ariel Helwani. I just came here to thank you for watching our ESPN YouTube channel. It's the best. You know what else is the best? The ESPN app. You can get highlights, analysis, all that stuff and more. And if you want premium content and live streaming sports, there's only one place for all of that. It's ESPN Plus.